How channel this useful is? Sounds like a meaningful sentence, huh? Yeah, it's meaningful, but not in order, right? So, every language have its own syntax and semantics. We must learn it before speaking. All languages in the universe use to convey some messages in the language which they know. In computing, we use the same method. We talk to the machine in the language which we are familiar with, English. A computer language is basically a binary language, a collection of zeros and ones, which is hard for a human to understand and read. Otherwise, everyone can code as long as you speak English. My promise. Before diving, let's see what a program is. In fact, computer is dumb, who cannot perform itself without instructions. A program is a collection of instructions compiled into a file to perform some specific task by the CPU. Programming is the process of writing the algorithm to perform a sequence of instructions. Programmers are the ones who write the program in various languages. Programming has different levels of abstraction to reduce the complexity for the programmers. Abstraction is nothing but data hiding, just like a driver doesn't need to know how the engine works. Based on the levels of abstraction, programming languages can be classified into two: high-level and low-level languages. Low-level languages are close to the machine-level instruction set, used to communicate with the machine directly. Thereby, it is efficient and faster. But as it talks to the machine directly, the same program cannot be used for different hardware. For example, Apple has introduced their first ARM-based SoC as CPU for their Macintosh computers, removing Intel processors. This challenges in redefining their operating system and applications to support the new hardware. So, low-level language is highly used where direct hardware access is needed, such as operating systems, device drivers, compilers, etc. Still remember Neil Armstrong and the Apollo missions?
It's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind. Liftoff. We have a liftoff. 32 minutes past the hour. Liftoff on Apollo 11. Tower clear.
The powerful Saturn V rocket used for Apollo missions had only a core memory module sized 14 kilobytes. Just compare that with the modern smartphone memory. Sounds incredible, huh? As the memory size was too small, the IBM engineers opted the machine language to program the launch vehicle digital computers for fast and efficient computing. Let's take a bow into Apollo team. How do we tackle the limitations in low-level language? Well, that's where the modern programming languages steps in. They are high-level languages independent of the underlying hardware, developed for the user experience, written mainly with English keywords. The high-level programs are converted into machine code using either a compiler or a shell. There are two ways to ask a computer to do a task, either by specifying the sequence of operations or without specifying to get the desired result. Based on it, high-level programming can further classify into two: imperative and declarative programming. Imperative programming, in which the programmer instructs the machine how to change its state by procedures, loops, conditions, etc. Like a route map to reach the destination. Declarative programming is just the opposite of imperative programming. There we don't specify the steps, instead we ask for the desired result. SQL is the best example of it. We will discuss it in upcoming models. There is an incredible number of programming languages used by developers. The total number of computer languages to exist is approximately 9,000, though there are approximately 50 in use today. Then comes the question, which one should I learn? No programming languages are better from one another, except difference in usage. Every language has its own pros and cons. I recommend studying the concepts of programming rather than the language itself. In real-life environments, you may use several programming languages irrespective of what you have learned. So, focus on the core features of programming, such as loops, conditions, variables, functions, classes, objects, etc. If you can learn one language, it helps you learning other languages as well. Choose the language based on need and usability. Now we have a language to create an application wrapped in a file. But how do we store and organize the files? Well, that's for another episode. Thanks for watching.